Sports. I am Jacob Brown, joined here with CJ Uri, and we're doing our first pod in a while here. We got a bunch of NFL stuff to talk about, and for fans of this show, we've been doing our other 4 podcasts in the meantime. That's why we've been taking a little bit of a hiatus on this one. We have Strictly Baseball, Strictly Hockey, Strictly Rangers, and Strictly Yankees, all on YouTube. You can search it up at Strictly Sports Productions. They're all organized into playlists. And then we also have them on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a bunch of others as well. And of course, this podcast is on all those platforms as well. So CJ, it's been a while. Your Dolphins, they've been busy. How are you feeling today on March 30th?
Feel very good. A ton of stuff going on in the sports world. It's been really good to listen to and to read about. I will say I was very... I didn't want to wait all the way until the draft and like a week before the draft or like even 48 hours before the draft to know what the Dolphins were doing, but I kind of accepted it that I would have to go through all of April waiting to see what's going to happen, and I couldn't stand all the Tua hate and all the Dolphins are going to move on from Tua, and all these reporters who absolutely have no idea what they're talking about just put out clickbait stuff, and I've gotten to the point where I realize that Tua and just the name is clickbait, and it gets clicks, it gets views, and I don't think many of these people even believe what they're saying. But what the Dolphins did was absolutely genius. They slotted back to 12, got 2 first-rounders from the 49ers, to then select, at the time, 10 first-round picks, and spanning from, I believe, the 2019 draft all the way until the 2024 draft, so 2 picks a year, and then they traded away one of those picks to move back into the top 10 and go to 6. Essentially, what the Dolphins said was, taking a wide receiver or skill position player at 3 isn't very smart. Let me back up a couple spots and get a wide receiver. I'll get the same guy at 6 and gain a first-round pick. I love it. It's beautiful business, and it's getting a ton of likes around the league. And it's great to be a Dolphins fan and have a competent front office, because I can't say that I've had that ever in my life.
You know, honestly, it's turned into a case where they're becoming one of the most well-run organizations in the league, period. They're kind of taking that Colts philosophy of, we're going to trade back, like you said. You know, if you're going to get what you want at 9, you might as well just trade back. There's no point in having the higher pick. They've been doing that a lot. They make smart free agent acquisitions. They make smart trades. That's what they do really well. Not a lot of teams do all 3 of those things right. Draft well, sign well, trade well. The Dolphins have done all 3 well over the last year and a half, 2 years under this new administration, if you will, for the Dolphins. So it's been really great to see for them. They want to make the playoffs with Tua. And, you've been on text with me about, Colin Cowherd sitting there, calling that Tua's going to be traded for 3 weeks. And he's still on Sam Darnold's high horse for some reason. Literally today, he's saying, if I'm the Panthers, I'm giving Sam Darnold a chance. I think the Darnold hype is over based on all these moves that have been happening so far.
I genuinely think that Sam Darnold went to possibly like the worst environment he could have gone. I mean, he went to an Adam Gase team. Adam Gase is not a locker room leader, and he's not a head coach that's going to garner any support from your team, really. And Darnold also went to just a lousy organization, a very lousy team. I'm sorry, but I think that guy could needs a second chance. And now I'm not sitting here and saying that Colin Cowherd's right by any means, but I do believe that there is some sort of truth to the guy needs a second chance. But the thing is for these sports reporters, I understand that all of it is about clicks and all of it's about views, and they post about things that they know they're going to get views about. When Colin says Sam Darnold needs to be traded or whatever, he can be good. I hate the negativity around Sam Darnold. He knows he's going to get a ton of comments, a ton of retweets. It's the New York Jets. And then when he talks about Tua, it's Tua Tagovailoa, who's been one of the most famous college quarterbacks in the last decade, and one of the most household names going into last year's draft. Even, people who don't really watch sports knew who the guy was. He knows it's going to get clicks. So I stopped reading into all that stuff. But regardless, I do think that there's a little bit of truth about Sam Darnold. I do think that he needs to move on and get a second chance. And I think he will eventually move on. I do think that they're going to move Sam Darnold before the draft. I think that they'll trade him away for like a second-round pick of that same year to a team. And I think that that'll be good business for the Jets, to be honest. It'll be good for Sam Darnold. I think both parties, whoever it is, will benefit. And I do think ultimately they're going to take Zach Wilson at 2.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, my dad's a Jets fan. He wants Zach Wilson more than any of the other guys. I think I agree with him on, if you're talking, obviously Trevor's at number 1, at least, I guess not according to Adiel, I guess, because he's telling us that Justin Fields is going to be better than Elsa Trevor Lawrence. But anyway, Zach Wilson, he's a really good quarterback. He's a gunslinger almost. He throws like a shortstop in baseball. He's great on the run. He's also mobile other than throwing the ball on the run. He can also run, period. Obviously, people point to, he was at BYU. Who cares? The dude has the tools. And I think with a team that has as much cap space as the Jets do, getting a new head coach in, we'll see how they do with him. But they clearly failed with Sam Darnold. It wasn't the right time to get a franchise quarterback because they weren't ready for one. They never seemed to be ready for one as a Jets organization. So, I hope it works out genuinely with Zach Wilson because that fan base has been through a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I find the most outdated argument is like the level of competition that a guy will play at against. I'm like, who cares? He beat who was in front of him. He played well against who was in front of him. So why do you care? Josh Allen went to Wyoming. Joe Flacco went to University of Delaware. The list goes on.
Right. Wentz went to North Dakota.
Yeah, Randy Moss went to Marshall. All right, like we're sitting here, and like in all honesty, if you pull up the list of Group of 5 talents again in Power 5 talents in the NFL, there's a ton of names that people don't realize were Group of 5. I could start Antonio Brown, Central Michigan, Devontae Adams, Fresno State, Aaron Jones was UTSA, Trey Hendrickson, who just got a $60 million bag, went to FAU. I mean, the list goes on. So I think this whole competition thing and what these people are saying on TV, like, Justin Fields, he played at Ohio State and the Big Ten or whatever. I'm like, look at the teams in the Big Ten in the last couple of years. He plays Rutgers once a year. Rutgers is horrible.
Yeah.
Like every other team, for the most part, is like not all that
Michigan
good.
State's not what they were. I mean, you get Michigan to worry about, and they beat them every year.
Yeah. I do think, though, that there is something going on with this Justin Fields thing because everyone's giving Zach Wilson hype. Everybody today gave Mack Jones hype, and I know it was his pro day, but even before that, I mean, you had Kyle Shanahan fly into Alabama. You had Bill Belichick there. You had everybody there at this pro day. And I'm sorry, Mack Jones looked awful. He looked absolutely terrible. I don't know if you saw the clips. He looked horrible. There was a point where the ball hit the roof. He was trying too hard. He overthrew receivers. It just was not a good day for him. I do think that he will be a decent quarterback in this league, but people have to stop the whole he is in the conversation with Fields and Wilson. I do think that Fields, the team's not talking about Fields, the Jets aren't talking about Fields, a lot of the insiders for the Jets aren't talking about Fields. 49ers could be in play for Fields, but I feel like there's something going on there, and Fields might be the second quarterback off the board.
I mean, he could be. Fields worries me. I mean, he looks good at times. Listen, he beat up Clemson, who they have this big mantra about them. They're Clemson. Their secondary's not good. It wasn't this year, at least. Then when he rolls up national championship, plays Bama, he looked terrible. So, below average, I should say. He wasn't terrible, but he didn't look like he did against Clemson. I think he was supported by that roster. He had basically an NFL team surrounding him. Let's see what he does in the NFL. I would certainly take Zach Wilson over him every day. And as far as Mack Jones go, I think he's closer to Kyle Trask than he is to the top quarterbacks. Yeah. He's like a notch above Kyle Trask to me because they're both big guys with big arms. But I feel like if you put Trask on that Alabama team, he'd have Mack Jones stats. So the hype around these quarterbacks, a lot of it surrounds who they played with in college. And it's all about this media superiority, just like they do in the rankings. You can only be highly appraised if you were with a college football playoff team or a conference winner. Other than that, we're going to question you. It's that elitist college football mentality. If the guy has the tools, give him a chance.
Yep, absolutely. I fully agree with that. And another name that, gained a ton of popularity and traction after his pro day, Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Who, Albright, one of the draft analysts, I'm forgetting his first name, maybe Jeremy or Benjamin Albright, something like that. But I know that his last name's Albright. He's an elite draft mind, and he's got a ton of information, and I always lean on some of the things that he's saying. And he said definitively, hey, Trey Lance was great. That's awesome and all, but if you're a team, you're going to need to trade up to 3 to get him.
Oh.
And that makes me believe that there's some teams that covet Trey Lance, and they might have to pay some sort of a ransom to get up there and get it.
Right.
I think that this is a very interesting draft. I thought last year's draft was extremely interesting, but it's nowhere near the level of this draft because there's so many moving parts. And this isn't a stacked offensive line draft. This isn't a stacked D-line draft. It's super stacked on quarterback. It's super stacked on skill position players. And that's fun. That's super fun. I think that this is going to be a great draft. And a lot of these transactions recently increased the hype. You saw guys from all around sports media and on Twitter, and they were like, wow. Like, this is NBA deadline, NBA free agency type stuff here. I love this. Give me more of it. And I think we will see a little bit more of it come draft day with the Sam Darnold trade that I think might come and whatnot. But I also wouldn't be surprised if the Jets decided to take Penei Sewell and then put him next to, whatever, add him to that O-line, keep Darnold. I mean, then you have an elite O-line.
Right, because they drafted O-line last year. So
Mackay Becton. Becton.
That's what it, yeah. So, yeah. They could definitely do that. I think, it's smart, build a line before you get the QB, but then it's like, who's your QB? So we'll see. But now let's go to some of these free agent moves. We're way behind on this stuff, so just bear with us. J.J. Watt to the Arizona Cardinals. We're just going to give, quick observations on all these players. Obviously, he's a veteran. He used to be an elite defensive end, one of the best sackers in the NFL. To me, he's past his prime. I think everyone knows this. But the bottom line is he brings a presence to that defense, especially with Patrick Peterson leaving, who's a vet, to bring in another guy who knows what he's doing out there. Things aren't going to show up on the stat sheet with J.J. Watt necessarily like they used to, but his impact on the overall defense, I think, is going to be really, really positive for Arizona.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. I do believe that if J.J. Watt stays healthy, I think that he can regain a portion of that elite form and pitch in for, let's say, close to 10 sacks, 11 sacks, 12 sacks, and at that point he's more than lived up to it because you're right, he's past his prime. But yeah, I am with you. I think it's more of you got a leader in the locker room, you have a leader on the field, a guy like Kyler Murray who isn't the most vocal guy out there, can definitely learn from some veteran leadership, and I think it's a great signing for them in terms of that. He's had injury problems, but I would say that it's a good piece of business. Add something that was much needed, a little bit more pressure on that D-line, and maybe they get the ball back to Kyler more because a lot of teams were having some long drives there against them and keeping Kyler Murray off the field because that defense just wasn't all that in terms of creating pressure. Yeah.
Next move we have here, Tyrell Williams to the Detroit Lions really quick. They lost Galladay, they lost Jones, needed a receiver, they got Tyrell. Mark Ingram to the Houston Texans. Okay, cool. Nothing they do really changes where they're going to be. Even if they don't trade Deshaun Watson, they might not have him. I don't think we need to really go into that. It's been all over the place. I don't know what's going on. Sietler doesn't know what's going on. I don't think anyone does, so we're not really going to comment on that. But let's move on here to the Miami Dolphins trade. Bernardrick McKinney traded from the Texans to the Dolphins in exchange for Shaq Lawson. What do you think of that move?
I think it's a great move. I didn't think Shaq Lawson was all that last year. I think a lot of his stats were they were, I don't know, they were kind of masked by a lot of Ogba. Ogba had a breakout season last year. Shaq Lawson was on the other side of that line. Appreciate his service. I think he was well liked in the locker room, but in terms of the contract, it just wasn't there. I think McKinney is your run stuffer. He's the guy who will fly through that hole and meet whoever it is that's coming through the hole. I think it's a great signing. Genuinely am happy with it. I think McKinney will play tons of snaps.
All right, so we're going to go on a little bit of a Patriots roll here. They did a lot. They let go of some people. They also gained a lot of people too. So Trent Brown, they got him back from Vegas. Still weird saying Vegas, but they got Trent Brown back, left for a year. Now they get him back, spruce up that O-line. However, they lost Joe Thuney and they lost Marcus Cannon. So those were big guys on the O-line, but still they're bringing Trent Brown back, which is nice. You look at the other stuff that New England did. They bring in Matt Judon. I was really impressed with Matt Judon in the playoffs specifically this year for Baltimore on that defense. He's now with New England. Hunter Henry, tight end, along with Jonnu Smith. So New England, 2 tight ends set. I love both moves. Jalen Mills, nice defensive safety. I believe he's a safety from Philadelphia. They get him in. They add Devon Godshaw. They add Kendrick Bourne as a wide receiver. Nelson Aguilar at wide receiver. Henry Anderson goes to the Patriots. So the Patriots made a lot of moves, and obviously they re-signed Cam Newton as well. But what does this actually do? Because they lose 2 offensive linemen, they gain 1, then they lose some on defense, but they gain a little bit, and then they give you little pieces on offense for Cam. I'm still not wowed by their roster. They made a lot of good moves, but they don't scream playoff team to me anymore. They just got some nice pieces.
I think I actually really like their defense this year. I think their defense is going to keep them in a ton of games. I don't think they're ever going to get blown out. I do think that
they brought Van Noy back as well, by the way.
Yeah, they did bring back Van Noy, which I liked Van Noy, but
he wasn't good for you. Yeah,
it was just a crazy contract. But anyway, I agree. I think they're going to be a middle of the road team, and that's just not where you want to be. So unless that they filled a couple of these holes because they felt like they had a ton of holes at skill position, right? And they did sign some skill guys, right? Jonnu Smith, Nelson Aguilar, Hunter Henry. I think you got some ball catchers now. In terms of people who can separate, I guess Nelson Aguilar, cool.
And Kendrick Bourne seems to be an underrated guy.
They let Thuney walk. They let Andrews walk.
Right.
But you got Trent Brown in, so how much of a upgrade to the line is that? I don't know. Belichick's always good with the line, though. I don't know. I think that they're going to be middle of the road team. Now we have 17 games. I think they're going to be like 9-8, 8-9.
Yeah.
Maybe 7-10, something like that.
Right. They're going to be like they were last year, except a notch above, where it's like you still don't want to play them. You're going to get if you're basically the Patriots are going to get their wins against coaches that are more inexperienced, who have kind of even rosters. So, I mean, trying to think of some teams. Well, they'll go 1-1 versus Buffalo and Miami. I think at the very least they'll beat the Jets. But going up, like say they play Cincinnati, they'll win a game like that. Say they go up against Cleveland, I think it'll be close just because Stefanski against Belichick. It's going to be Belichick's actually a big part of this Patriots team. How much does he actually mean? I think this year will be more of a barometer for that, but they're going to do something at quarterback for the future as well. We got to see that too.
I think Bill did all these moves because he was excited to coach these guys, and these guys is who he wanted to coach. And maybe he's sitting there like, I love my roster, and I think this is the roster I'm going to get to the playoffs with. And in that case, I wouldn't be surprised regardless.
Yeah,
I think that they're more of in that range of like middle of the road than they are a playoff team. But the thing is who can ever be like surprised if Bill Belichick leads his team to the playoffs? So
it's Bill Belichick at the end of the day. So I'm going to look at so Kevin Sietler leaves the Giants. The Giants struggle at guard, and now he's gone. So he goes to Baltimore. Great addition for them. When you have a quarterback like Lamar that runs all over the place, you need an offensive lineman, or you need a good offensive line. Kevin Sietler, very effective for the Giants last year. It's honestly a tough blow because now the Giants, they were already probably 18 to 20 offensive line in the league. Gets a little lowered here. They have Andrew Thomas second year. That's going to be nice. Nate Solder coming back at right tackle, although he's switching positions. He had a bad year at left tackle, takes a year off. Now he's at a different position. How does that work out? Giants still have Will Hernandez, but they're going to draft offensive linemen, in my opinion, at 11, unless they get really lucky and someone, really big's there and they're like, hey. But I feel like since they got Kenny Golladay, and we could shift to the Giants for a second, they get Kenny Golladay, they get Adoree Jackson at corner. I think they're fine in terms of offense. They have Sterling Shepard, they have Slayton, who Daniel Jones really likes. Evan Ingram's good. They signed Kyle Rudolph. Saquon's coming back. To me, upgrade the O-line because you're fine. Even though they lost Dalvin Tomlinson as well, he goes to Minnesota. He was a good D tackle for them. Giants just signed Danny Shelton. I love the Adoree Jackson thing. You pair him up with Bradbury at corner, Julius Peppers at safety. Suddenly you look at that secondary for the Giants. It's good. That defensive line, who knows? That's going to, there's a lot of young guys there. They obviously re-signed Leonard Williams, who is a beast. He's got to replicate that now that he's got the big contract, been an inconsistent player during his career. And for Jets fans, they probably hate him. I know my dad is like, really? He plays in the same stadium for a different team, and now he's getting a $65 million contract? Of course it works that way for the Jets. But I like this Giants team, and I think this offseason was Daniel, you have the offensive tools. We're going to draft you another lineman. We got you another corner 2 years in a row. We've signed corners. There's still a draft to be done where they can upgrade little patches here and there. The Giants team is good. This is it for Daniel Jones to me. If he can't do it, it's over to me because I already don't like him in the first place.
Yeah. Look, you made a great point with the O-line. It is a little bit weird that they let him walk, but they did give a ton of money to a skill position. With the young Daniel Jones, you want to have the best O-line possible. I will say, though, this draft for O-line is just not good.
No, it's
not.
So
it's after Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater, who are phenomenal O-linemen, it just gets bleak afterward. Okay? So the good thing about the Giants is they're probably sitting there and go, the two toughest positions to nail, we kind of nailed. We've got Andrew Thomas on one end, and then we've got Solder on the other. Right? So we're confident in Hernandez, and then we can build around a couple guys that we get in the draft and plug and play, and we can get by that way.
Right.
Fantastic. Fine. You get Saquon back next year. You got Kenny Golladay. I personally think at 11, you are looking at a Micah Parsons from Penn State, who's just absolutely incredible, and in my opinion, without all the legal issues he's faced, a top 6 to 8 talent in the draft and should be drafted there accordingly. I think that he might fall to an 11, but I can also see falling to an 11 because I think the first 4 to 5 picks in the draft are going to be quarterback. So I think you're going to see Lawrence, Wilson, Fields, Lance in that 4, and maybe even a Mack Jones in the 5. At that point, all of your O-line are there, all of your skill positions are there, and you're 6 picks away. Right. So you would have a insane prospect fall to you, like potentially a Devonta Smith, potentially a Kyle Pitts, potentially Jamar Chase, potentially Jalen Waddle, where you're sitting there, you go, he's right there. How do I not? Right?
For a low cost to get that guy.
I didn't think that this guy was going to be there. He's there. Or let's say Rashawn Slater fell. Oh my God, I get the second best O-lineman in the draft at 11. This is crazy. Boom, I take it. I don't think Rashawn Slater and Penei Sewell will go out of the top 10. It's a potential with Slater, definitely not Sewell. But I think that at 11, you can't just pick the next best O-lineman on the board because there's a huge drop-off after those two guys. If one of the premier skill position players are there at 11, you take it and you run.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, because really, if 3/5 of your offensive line is fine, okay. I mean, I've got weapons that can make up for that. Daniel Jones is mobile himself. I'll give him that. And this is actually interesting about Jones. I saw this on PFF. So there's 3 things. Per PFF, Daniel Jones ranks 5th in the NFL in passing grade on throws 10-plus yards downfield, trailing just Rodgers, Wilson, Brady, and Mahomes. Second one, highest passer rating on throws 20-plus yards downfield in 2020, Daniel Jones, 132.5. Highest graded QBs on throws 20-plus yards downfield in 2020, Rodgers, Carr, Jones. And then Kenny Golladay, best receiver in the NFL catching deep balls. If that's actually accurate, because a lot of things can go into that, opportunities that Jones, maybe it's a low average because he has so little opportunities to throw downfield, he just happened to execute a lot of them. Who knows? But to be looped in with names like that, Rodgers, Brady, Wilson, Mahomes, that's a good sign.
Yep, absolutely. And here's the thing, the Giants aren't in a division like the Dolphins where it's like the Bills are really good and the Patriots are always good. Right. You have to get significantly better every offseason to compete. You're not in a division like the AFC North where you've got the Bengals, the Browns, the Steelers, and the Ravens who are all like, hey, we got our guy at quarterback. We're going to build. Yeah. We're going for the division. The Giants are in a position where they're like, hey, everybody around us is rebuilding. Everybody around us has some suck to them. Maybe we can get by with 3/5 of the O-line, and maybe I can pair with Kenny Golladay a Kyle Pitts, or maybe I can pair with him with a Jalen Waddle. And my offense is now Daniel Jones, Jalen Waddle, Kenny Golladay, and Saquon Barkley. And you've got two good. You got a premier left tackle in the making, Andrew Thomas. You got a good right tackle in Solder. You got Hernandez right there that they're going to trust. At that point, you're sitting there and go, Daniel Jones, here you go, dude. Like there it is. And at that point, you're sitting there as a Giants fan. You're like, I might have the best offense in the division. Now, Prescott's the best quarterback, but Jones might have the best weapons when that's all said and done. So that's what I'm
100%.
saying. At 11, the Giants are going to have a huge. I think that 11 is a really good spot to be in right now because you can sit there and go, whoever falls in my lap, I just take it. Just take it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and then let's say that Trey Lance or a Mack Jones fall out of the top 10 and there's a team that wants to slot up so bad, you say, we'll trade back to your pick, give us your second rounder.
Yeah.
The Giants are in a great spot.
Because the Giants have a lack of picks other than the first round, so they might have to.
The Giants are in a good spot. I think it's very exciting for your team, Jacob, and I do think that they're going to get a pretty damn good prospect at 11. Because if, let's say that one of the skill position guys don't fall to you, Micah Parsons will be there, and you add an electric player on defense, and he will bring the Meadowlands absolute joy, and he's going to get in the backfield. He's going to fly around and get that running back. And at that point, you're saying, like, hey, the Redskins, oh my gosh, the Washington football team last year added Chase Young to their roster. Hey, we're going to keep up with you guys. We're going to add Micah Parsons. He's damn good at football, and we've now got our defensive guy on there that's going to fly around and make plays for us. Because at this point right now, I think the way the division's going is sure the Cowboys, they have Prescott, but I think the way the division going right now is Ron Rivera saying, like, I'm going to have the best defense at all times, and I'm going to have an offense that can move the ball periodically.
Yeah,
the
Fitzpatrick,
Giants
big play.
need to keep up with that because they don't want to run into a team where they've got all the weapons on offense, but the other team's got a damn good defense, and they'll grind us out.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's Daniel Jones' year. He's got the tools. We don't even know the full, complete story yet, and we're high on him. So Joe Thuney, we mentioned him leaving the Patriots. He goes to the Chiefs. Chiefs cut 2 O-linemen, but they signed Thuney. I like that a lot. Important guy. So good for the Chiefs. Honestly, they're going to win the division and probably go to the Super Bowl again either way. So I don't, it is what it is with them. Corey Davis and Carl Lawson to the Jets. We mentioned, by the way, congrats FAU alum Trey Hendrickson getting the bag with Cincinnati. They're not going to make the playoffs this year, but he'll be there when they are playoff eligible, that's for sure. Rayshawn Jenkins to the Jags. John Johnson, really good move. I like it, to the Cleveland Browns. Weak secondary for them, but now they add a guy from the Rams, a good corner, in John Johnson, so I like that. And CJ, whenever you feel like inputting, just cut me off. And then Ronald Darby to the Denver Broncos. They got them a defensive guy. Yannick Ngakoue to the Vegas Raiders, along with Kenyon Drake. Their offseason's a little weird. They let some guys go. You bring in Yannick. He's not necessarily the guy that everyone thought he would be this year, coming off an amazing year in Jacksonville. But, Vegas, they like to go for the big names. That's just what they do. They also got John Brown as well and Willie Snead. So that, Carr's getting weapons as well. 2 running backs, Waller at tight end, 3 or 4 receivers. So they were right on the bridge of making the playoffs. Who knows what they can do this year. Like I said, Dalvin Tomlinson to the Vikings. I didn't mention earlier, Bud Dupree to the Titans, as well as Danico Autry. Great moves for them. We all knew Swiss cheese defense last year. You had to do something about it, especially with Adoree Jackson leaving, which is big news for them. So what else is here? Cameron Irving, longtime Cowboy to the Panthers. Fitzpatrick to the football team. Don't get it. Felt like they should have went young. I get, 1-year buffer, but usually you want a 1-year buffer when you have a replacement in line. I don't see where they can do that at the draft unless they trade up. Don't really get it for Washington. Maybe they trade for Darnold. Who knows?
I get it. I get why that. I think Fitzpatrick's playing the best football of his life right now, and I know that he's off and on, but he can easily go win the NFC East right now. The NFC East, it's kind of sucky right now. I think their only competition would be a more complete Giants team.
Yeah.
And Fitzpatrick's like, hey, you give me the reins to the whole year. I don't have anyone behind me. This defense is badass. I'm going to take you to the playoffs, and I'm going to freaking win a playoff game. Because we'll have a home game.
Because, they made the playoffs last year for crying out loud.
I think it's fun. I think that Washington football team next year is going to be a good time. Who else? They got somebody at wide receiver, Curtis Samuel.
Right.
Curtis, that's a huge.
Yeah, and he played for Ron Rivera, obviously, so that's a big move for them. So Carlos Jacksonville also had a great offseason so far, bringing in Marvin Jones, bringing in Philip Dorsett, bringing in Carlos Hyde. I like all 3 of those moves. They also brought in Chris Manhertz, Jihad Ward, Shaquille Griffin, Malcolm Brown, Tyson Alulu. They've had a hell of an offseason. They know they're getting Trevor, and this is just year 1 of the rebuild. They got draft picks and like $100 million in cap space. Still.
Yeah. They're going to be loaded.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people around the league that are saying that they're going to be like absolutely loaded for like a decade.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, if he's Andrew Luck, then yeah.
Hey, good for them. Jacksonville deserves it. Jacksonville's a fun place. If Jacksonville's in the playoffs and has a home game or whatever, they're super North Florida. They've got some cold nights there. It's a fun atmosphere at that stadium.
Oh yeah.
And when they're good, oh my gosh, they're like the fans are absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Duval Nation. I'm excited for them. I think it's good. For the Jags, it's they're facing a ton of relocation talks and a lot of relocation jokes. That's always annoying. And if you're good, all that stuff goes away. So good for them.
Yeah, I love what they've done this offseason. Jacoby Brissett to the Dolphins. He'll be your guys' new backup. Joe Ross as well to the Giants. They get a speed freak. Talk about Daniel Jones with deep balls. You get one of the fastest guys in the league in Joe Ross. Who else we got here? Tyrod Taylor to Houston. Again, when this happened, this was before the Deshaun news. I was like, okay, maybe that's their starter once they trade Deshaun. Who the hell knows what they're going to do now? No one really knows. And by the way, I was totally wrong. Malcolm Brown went to the Dolphins, not the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just have it on a list here. I misread the line.
Malcolm Brown, I think is going to be good. He's a guy that averages about 4 or 5 yards a carry because he's just a downhill back. And I think that what they're doing with that signing is they're going to pair him with a Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
Or a Javonte Williams or a Najee Harris that you're going to see in the draft. That's exciting to me. Super exciting. I like Malcolm Brown. I'll tell you what right now. He's your better Jordan Howard right now because he commands less money and he's also not going to have. He's just going to put his shoulder into everyone.
I was about to say, he's like, a power back.
You need 3 or 2 yards on third or second down or whatever. You just throw him in there. Oh man, I'm telling you, I think it's a sneaky pick for them.
Other moves, we got Emmanuel Sanders to the Bills. John Brown, Snead leave, so they bring in Emmanuel Sanders. Good for them. Obviously, Stephon Diggs there as well. But losing John Brown and Snead's going to be interesting. See what happens with them. Jamal Williams, this kind of surprised me, going to Detroit from Green Bay. I felt like a guy like that who started some games for Aaron Jones and did well, he'd get with a contending team, but he ends up with Detroit. I don't know how that happens. Michael Brockers to the Lions as well. Will Jackson III to Washington. You talk about that defense. They get a guy from Cincinnati there as well. Justin Coleman from Detroit to Miami. Ted Karras left Miami, goes to New England. A.J. Green as well to Arizona. A lot like J.J. Watt. He's not in his prime anymore. If he can produce just a little bit, good for them. Adam Butler to the Miami Dolphins as well. Rodney Hudson to the Arizona Cardinals. Matt Prater, the kicker from Detroit, to Arizona. Morgan Fox to Carolina. Looking for big ones here. Kyle Long to Kansas City, coming out of retirement. Also, we can finally talk about this. Chicago's stupid. They signed Andy Dalton. Mitch goes to the Bills. They don't know what they're doing. They just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, Chicago was desperate. They took their best stab at Russell Wilson. There was a report out there that they really did try. They were going to give the Seahawks the bag. Some great pieces as well. There's first rounders up the wazoo, but they just, the Seahawks are right. I mean, why in the world would I trade the most important position? We're set at this position that's so hard to be set at.
Yeah, we're not going to overreact at Russell's comments,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're going to be the same team they were last year. The Bears is what it is.
Yep. Patrick Peterson left Arizona to go to Minnesota. Nice piece for them. Jared Cook to the Chargers. So Hunter Henry leaves. They bring in a tight end to replace him. And Jared Cook, I love that move. Mitch Trubisky, like I said, to Buffalo. Will Fuller. We didn't even talk about this. Going to your Dolphins.
Will Fuller to the Miami Dolphins. Unbelievably exciting. I think he's going to be. What they're trying to do is they're trying to form a mini track team. Because that's what Tua had at Bama. He just had guys that were running. And I'm telling you, Will Fuller or Tua, Will Fuller's going to love it. And Will Fuller said, I can't wait to get down to Florida and throw with Tua.
Hell yeah. We got Phillip Lindsay as well, leaving Denver. So Houston doing some weird stuff at running back. I mean, they seem to care about running back more than any other position on their team. Tyler Kroft to the New York Jets. Anthony Harris to Philadelphia. Desmond Trufant to the Bears. Jacob Hollister, tight end from Seattle, goes to Buffalo. I like that move. Anthony Walker to the Cleveland Browns from the Colts. Brashad Perriman to Detroit. Desmond King to Houston. Keelan Cole to the New York Jets. Troy Hill to the Cleveland Browns. And that's all I have here on my list. I know there's other stuff that's happened, but for the most part, that's been the NFL story. We're just waiting for the draft now. It's been, a really interesting NFL offseason. You got quarterbacks moving all over the place. Quarterback movement isn't even done yet. So CJ, you're confident in your Dolphins. I'm confident in my Giants. And so we're gonna have a strictly sports, obviously, before and after the draft. That's one of our favorite times of the year. CJ and I are sitting in his home theater right now. We're watching the Florida Panthers on the big theater screen, winning 1-0 against the Red Wings. My Rangers are on right now. We got March Madness. We got a packed night, so we're gonna go do that stuff. Steve Cashin and I are going to be recording Strictly Baseball tomorrow night, and it's going to be uploaded before the first pitch of opening day on Thursday. Strictly Hockey will be back soon. We just did Strictly Rangers and Strictly Yankees. We're going to try and do one right around opening day as well. As also, shout out to FAU Baseball, sweeping Marshall 4 games in 3 days. That was really awesome, and FAU iHeartRadio will be back on the call for the April 9th series against ODU. And Steve Cashin, we only got 1 game in with him. We went to the spring game Saturday, missed the doubleheader. He was sick for Sunday. He's coming back for the final series in the middle of May against Southern Miss, so that'll be a good time. So that'll do it. Yep, you could find us on today on YouTube. We only did the audio version as we're sitting in this theater. We don't really have a good filming spot, but you can listen to it on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Our other 4 podcasts are on all those platforms and YouTube as well in the playlist section. You can follow us on Twitter at Strictly Sports P. For CJ Uri, I am Jacob Brown, and we will see you next time.